So Max, good to see you. First of all, so I wanted you to give this some clarification because the news on the internet is, I think there's a miscommunication of like you're not officially making a Marvel vs. Capcom game.
Definitely not. If it's that's the last thing I want. So I'm trying to remind everybody, exclamation point, it's a mod. So what happened as a result, somebody by the name of Rin, she created an MVCI editor, like out of nowhere. Seemed like a fun project. This modder in the past has done really crazy things like put Goku into Strive, functioning, which is a lot of work and a lot of hookup and a lot of stuff to make that happen. I played with it and it was shockingly working. Like you could take Goku online against other people playing Strive if they had the mod and literally fight Strive characters and just give them hell. So as soon as I noticed that was that person, it was like, oh, there might be a route here to actually make some changes to the core engine of the game. Because this isn't a surface level mod, we're just swapping out textures. This is engine access. So we had access to the full amount of the game. We started re-engineering how things worked, visuals, and that's where it all started.
So going back to that, why do you think MVCI got such a lukewarm reception at launch, like in your personal opinion?
Several very good reasons. MVCI, while it is a really fun game, probably one of my favorite Marvel vs. Capcom games to play, the visual style of the game was almost like in a negative, like not even in a positive light. It just did nothing but bad things for it. They were going after a cinematic Marvel Universe look, and it just didn't look good on any of the Capcom characters, barely looked good on any of the Marvel characters. Not to mention the game's roster was severely lacking. This was the period of Marvel where they had not acquired Fox, so they have no X-Men characters. At the time, Marvel was literally actively pushing away X-Men from everything. This game was made with that in mind. It quite literally came out at the worst time possible, right before I think Infinity War came out, so nobody cared about it. Long story short, and it ended up selling okay. But there was so much ire. And as someone that's my main bread and butter is Marvel vs. Capcom, it's my favorite thing ever. It was one of the most painful experiences as a content creator to be I like this part of the game a lot. I love this franchise, but I can't not pay attention to these absolute huge blemishes. And, it was obvious. It was it felt like they're trying to milk the audience in some way by making a subpar MVC game.
Pretty venomous DLC immediately, that kind of stuff.
Exactly, the DLC characters were in the story mode, and then they dropped a month later, so it was a whole bunch of just bad news on top of bad news.
So what's your goal here for MVCI and beyond? What's the roadmap and the ultimate goal to get this game out there and to change it?
So my personal goal, I've had this for years, is just to make Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite a cool game to people. Because a lot of people look at it the same way people saw Street Fighter V. It's just not a cool game. It's a game that ripped people off and made a bunch of people angry, right? So it had that. This is many years have passed. It's been almost 7 years. Right. So as a game that I personally love coming back to, and it's incredibly fun to play, and it has some of the best Capcom fighting game characters in the history of the entire franchise, people will never see that because of the way it looks and the roster and all the bad news. So just to get the game into a space where it's cool looking, which was why visuals were priority number one. And then after that, I kind of want to approach balance and things like that, adjusting characters, in a way where if this game did get developer support beyond a couple of months when it came out, what would that have looked like 6 months later, a year later? What would they have done to the game? So that's what we're effectively targeting. Get the visuals online, and then start tackling some systems in the game that are kind of annoying to high-level players, just making adjustments on the fly and going from there.
So do you have a plan in case Mr. Mouse gets a little antsy when you're doing this mod?
Yeah. I mean, that immediately as we started showing things off and we're getting front page IGN and all these, it's uh-oh. So I had a big red flag in my head. But at the same time, there has been other mods in the Marvel 3 scene that have been incredible. They've added 50 characters to Marvel 3. They've reverse engineered the game. I paid someone to figure out how to add character slots for an engine of a game that has no documentation. So they brute forced everything in there, and if there was a game that was going to be taken offline at some point, it would have been that one. But from what I understand, if we're not selling things, there's no intent to sell. I have to remind people, this is a mod, it's not official. We're going to make it look as official as possible, but it is not going to be a thing that is for sale anywhere. There's another example I like to use. Monster Hunter Iceborne had a thing called Ice Mod that I recently played, and it rebalances the whole game. Quality of life across the entire experience, new moves on weapons, everything. It works online with other people that have it. It's incredible. But it's a large-scale mod for the whole game. And I think I want to do that with MVCI. I want to have a large-scale mod. Here's all this new art, assets, moves, characters, visuals. Check this out. and then just put it out in one big, tiny, easy to access mod. And if you want to not use it, you can just take it out.
You've been playing fighting games for over 3 decades. Wouldn't it be awesome in a dream world if they approached you and said, you know what, Max, we're going to make you an official designer of this game?
I'd probably say no. This has already been like, when you get into projects and you don't realize how busy you are until you just start doing something, and it's like, wow, this is taking up a lot of my life. And yeah, we have over like 25 people working on MVCIB right now. So, and this is just like industry folks that saw that, oh, there's a chance to do something on a Marvel-style game, a franchise that's effectively dead. People love this stuff, you know? So, yeah, a lot of people jumped on board really fast. And, you know, some really talented people are making crazy things. We just demoed it last night. We had a couple of surprises. The first surprise was that we have a functioning 2v2 mode. So 2 players versus 2 players, you can tag with each other, and you can actually play 4 players at one time. We just got to hook it in the engine. And the second big surprise was, for the first time in 25 years of the franchise, we added Cross Fever, which is 4 players on the screen at one time. And we got it all working. And the systems were already there. You know, Soulstone already allowed that to happen. So, you know, we got a lot more surprises of what we want to do to the game. Nothing that'll make it a different game. I don't want to add 3v3. I don't want to add like 1v1 modes. I don't think that's necessary. I just want this to be the MVCI that everybody wanted.
And then where can people go to find more information and updates on the progress of this project?
Pretty much Twitter. We don't have like a community profile as of yet. It's mostly just me and Rin posting things and other modders, but I think that might be a good idea eventually because I don't want to release it until it's done. And it's just like a let us cook situation. We've had a month, you know, and we've got 8 characters online. They're like 95%, and we got a big roster after that. So, you know, just give us a little bit, and there will be updates on my YouTube channel, that's for sure.
Now, my final question is, you know, I've watched you grow over the last 3 decades. It's been a long journey. What would you say out there to younger generations who maybe didn't see that growth, what the biggest misconception about being a popular influencer is?
Sure, and I think a lot of people will look at influencers and YouTube channels at where they're currently at in their success and use that as an example of like a jumping point off for them. And I made the same mistakes too, where you look at what other channels are doing and you're like, I'm just going to do that and expect the same thing. And it's not the case. You don't see all the history that came before that to get them to that spot. So what I try to tell people, and I had to learn these things as I was growing as a channel in the early 2010s, was just make the content you want to see. If you're going to make content, you're going to try to emulate something else and just hope to get lucky, or just look in the content space and think about what you like to watch. And what do you like watching? Is there enough of that? You know, is there a whole bunch of that? Is there something unique in that space that hasn't been done that you can do? That's literally how I started with like Assist Me. You know, it was just, hey, I love this AVGN character costume stuff. I think this is really cool. I think there's a great space for us to costume characters from Capcom and Marvel and really annoy me while I play fighting games. But I can teach people how to play them in the process. Like that was the beginning of it. I'm like, I want to watch that. And I was just dead set on executing that idea for like years, you know?